The floor is open for your opening statement, then we'll handle Q&A.
Okay. Well, great to be in position where we're preparing for the Big Ten championship game. Excited to play in it. We're deep into prep, and with that, open it up to questions.
Okay. Our first question will come from Bill Rabinowitz. Bill, go ahead.
Yes, Curt. I know what you said when you were hired for the job, and you've obviously lived up to that. What do you think has been the number one key to turning around a program that obviously had struggled for so long?
People and a plan. Was able to bring most of my staff with me from James Madison. We've been together a long time. Bryant Haynes, 11 years. Mike Shanahan, 10 years. My special teams coordinator, Grant Kane, I believe 7. Strength and conditioning, probably 6. Other guys on staff, 5 plus. And then, obviously it's all about recruiting and development and retention. And, we've done a good job of filling in the pieces and developing. And, it's translated to results on the field. And you got to have a blueprint and a plan and standards and expectations, accountability. So we've got a lot of high character guys that are good football players, and they've taken the message to heart. And we've been fairly consistent this year.
Our next question comes from Zach Osterman.
Curt, I guess to follow up on that, you mentioned this, I think, a little bit on Friday night, but what's this journey been like for not just you, but that group, that staff group that you've had together for so long? You talked about you've had some 1-win seasons, you've never had a 12-0 season. Just sort of the experience that you guys have all had together from, Elon to JMU to Indiana, and having a season like this, just where do you think that's been reflected most for you as a staff group?
Yeah, you meant 1-loss seasons.
Sorry
And
about that.
don't forget IUP, because like both these coordinators I hired as part-time coaches at the D2 level for under $10,000. For those guys, it's been quite a ride. So, I mean, we've had success, which in this business, it's a result-oriented business. And we believe in what we're doing, and it's translated up every level to every level. And this is just a bigger stage, I think, where people are taking notice. So we go about things pretty much the same way we did 10 years ago. Now, you're always trying to improve, and believe me, we have organizationally. But it's been quite a ride.
Our next question comes from Scott Docterman.
Hi, Curt. How are you doing today?
Doing great.
Good. Wanted to ask you about your offense and the passing game and some of the depth of routes and the schematics of it. You have obviously a great quarterback. You have some tremendous receivers, but also the schematics seem to also fit what they do well. How would you go about describing what you want to accomplish schematically into the passing game, and how are they able to help reach that vision with the players that are out on the field?
Well, offensively, and I believe we've led the conference in scoring about the last 7, 8 years. It's all about balance. You got to be able to run it and throw it. In particular, the passing game, we're RPO based, and then from there you're into your quick game and your play action, your drop back game. And I mean, you got 52 yards of field, and you got to use all 52 plus of them. So, at the end of the day, defenses all have tendencies and schematics, things they do. And so you've got to have concepts, obviously, that attack everything. But more importantly, we've had great quarterback success. All of our quarterbacks really since 19 have been player of the year in the league on offense, except last year Rourke was second team all conference to the Heisman Trophy winner, led the country in QBR. So it's all about the quarterback and what he can do. They've all been different. We've had dual guys, pocket guys, etc. And you build around him and your offensive personnel, and you try to play to your strengths, and then you got a certain way, that you coach and things you believe in, and you preach certain things, and you want to play a certain way. And those guys take it to heart, and then you see the end result on the field.
Our next question will come from Michael Niziolik. I apologize if that pronunciation was off, Michael.
That's all right. Curt, can you break down kind of your process with getting the opponent? Obviously, you're finding out Saturday how much film you break down. What's your process? Where do you start? And then did you get it? What do you take from you? You got experience from this in the FCS playoffs, kind of doing this. Was there anything you kind of learned from that?
Yeah, I mean, the weekly process is the same. The deeper you go into the season, the more tape you have from 2025. So, the quality control guys always work in advance, and they've got the opponent tape broken down the week prior. So on Sunday, when you come in and you clean up the quality control of your past game, you're into now your offense and defensive preparation for the upcoming opponent. Usually starts with a personnel page and a general tendency page. And then what we like to do offensively is maybe go through the last 4 games or so, make sure the cut-ups are done right, the fronts and coverages and blitzes, and go from there. Monday, I like to watch the explosive passes, explosive runs. We watch those together, sort them by gain. Monday is kind of a walkthrough day for us, normal down and distance, P10, first and 10, second 1 to 6. So that's our focus. Tuesday, we add second and 7+ to the mix. Wednesday, third down. And on Thursday, we're red area goal line, 2-point plays, 2-minute. So, it's pretty organized, pretty structured. I don't require guys to stay late at night. They're on their own. Get done what you got to get done. And, a lot of them will stay and prepare for what's coming up the next day. And that's the way we do it.
As a reminder, if you'd like to ask a question, please raise your hand on the Zoom. Our next question comes from Jeff Rabjohns.
Yeah, Coach, you've had a lot of players come into your program and develop. Stephen Daly, Bones Jones, long list. What are the things that you guys have in place, people and plan, that we see consistent development in your program?
Yeah, Jeff. And I guess I forgot to answer the second part of Niz's question about the FCS playoffs. And you're right. I mean, like our first year at JMU, we played 16 games, went to national championship. And, never really treated those much different than the normal season. You always do tend to do a little bit less practice-wise in terms of the hitting and banging as the season goes on to keep guys healthy. So really, there's not much change, to be quite honest with you, in terms of the game week prep. In terms of development, this business is all about recruiting and development. And development, to me, takes place in the weight room, the off-season program. There's certain things you believe in as a program. You got to have high standards and expectations, accountability. How you do something's how you do everything. And there's a certain kind of guy we're going to bring into the program, a certain kind of guy that we're not going to bring into the program. Lessons I've learned a long time ago, 17 years as a recruiting coordinator and a coach. And you develop them also on the practice field, in the meeting room, and philosophically in terms of your style of play, offensively, defensively, and special teams. And, there's certain things you want to see on the game field in terms of effort. And we're very process driven. So, we're big into one play at a time, 6 seconds of play. Every play got life and a history of its own. Our mantra is fast, physical, relentless, smart, disciplined, poised, not affected by success or failure, and never, ever satisfied. And, so that way you're not playing to the circumstances of the game. And at the end of the game, when game's on the line, you're just doing your thing one play at a time, not affected by the previous play.
Our next question is from Tim May. Go ahead, Tim. Go ahead, Tim. All right, Tim, we'll try to come back to you. Our next question then will come from Kyle Babcock. Kyle, go ahead.
Hey, Coach, thanks for doing this today. What does this mean, this game, to your alumni, to your fans? A quick turnaround, and what does this mean to them to be able to see your team participate on this biggest stage?
Well, I'm sure it means a lot to them, and they're excited because I believe it's Indiana's first appearance in the Big Ten championship game. So, I think the fan base has really jumped on board once we started our early success. My first year, we've been selling the stadium out. It's been over the top. We have the largest alumni base in America, over 800,000. And, the support for the football program has really been coming in strong. So I'm sure it'll be a great environment Saturday night. They'll be all jacked up. There actually is a basketball game in Indianapolis at 2 p.m. The basketball team is playing Louisville, so some of those people are going to get a doubleheader. And, it'll be a great thing for them.
Our next question is from Tony Gerdeman.
Curt, I'm curious to see how much have you seen from Ohio State this year, and how much different are they than what you saw last year?
Yeah, I've seen a little bit of them on some crossover games, and obviously today spend a little bit of time on them. We'll spend a lot more when we're done here. Had a chance to watch them a little bit in the off week too. When we're before the Purdue game, where we were focused a little bit more on rest and recovery for our football team. So they're a great football team. Obviously, won national championship last season. Have won multiple national championships. Ryan Day's a great coach. He'll be one of the legends of the game someday. They're dominant, really everywhere. A lot of great players. Very explosive on offense. Got the #1 rated defense in America. Special teams are really good. New coordinator, obviously, Matt Patricia. So they're a little different than they were last year. But, they're giving up the fewest amount of points in the country. People are rushing for about 70 yards on them. They're only giving up 200 yards a game. They're giving up 130 yards passing. #1 red area defense in the country. Really good on 3rd down, 4th down. Multiple looks. A lot of really good players. Put them in position to make plays. And, the thing about Ohio State, they play fast. They play physical, nasty with an edge. And they really haven't been challenged this year. I mean, the Texas game was 14-0, and Texas scored 3 minutes ago in the game. Michigan did have some success early, and then Ohio State took control of the game. And, I think other than the Texas game, 18 points is the closest point differential in all their games.
Our next question goes to Adam King. Adam?
Coach, I know you don't want to talk about what could happen Saturday night post game, but do you think with both teams being 1 and 2, you guys should be solidified a bye in the college football playoff, knowing that this right now is the 2 best teams in the country?
Well, I think this is a 1 versus 2 matchup, which is a great matchup. And I had the opportunity to be a part of a couple of those at Alabama when we played Florida and Tebow and Urban 1 versus 2 years in a row. So it's going to be a great atmosphere. I think, you're playing this game for a reason. The Big Ten championship means an awful lot. And I think the way you play should mean something, because it's a game. It'll be the last thing you put on the field. And I don't expect any handouts. We've earned everything up to this point, and we've got to earn it on Saturday.
Our next question is from Dan Hope.
Hey, Curt, what do you feel like you guys learned from last year's game at Ohio State, and what do you feel like are the biggest ways in which your team has grown since then?
Yeah, I think while that was not an enjoyable experience, it was an experience that was necessary for our growth and development to go into a hostile environment like Ohio State and play a team of that quality. We got off to a decent start, but then after that, it was pretty much all Ohio State. And, we were able to add some key pieces to this year's team, some veterans that had played a lot of football, been in those environments. And I think the guys that returned, from last year's team learned a lot from Ohio State and Notre Dame, which helped us. So after, we were able to, when we played Illinois, they were 9 in the country, played them at home, played really well, won decisively. but then went to Iowa, a really difficult place to play. And I think a very underrated football team. And that game went down to the wire, pulled it out at the end. Obviously, Oregon was 2 or 3 in the country at the time we played. They were playing as well as anybody in America. And that was a big moment. We had to prove we could go on the road and beat a team of that caliber. And, we played fairly well, and it was a good win. Even Penn State, I realized they were having a down year, but since Terry took over, they were playing with kind of a renewed energy, and they took control the second half when we failed to put them away when we had the opportunity and had all the momentum in the world. And to come back and win like that on a 2-minute drive was a great thing for, I think, our football team. So I think we've learned a lot since the last time we played. We respect Ohio State. I mean, they're a great football team. What they've done speaks for itself. And we understand that we're going to have to play really well Saturday night.
Next question is from Pete DePremio.
Curt, I'm curious, the Ohio State's offense, the quarterback play, the running back play, can you talk a little bit about them and how balanced they are?
Yeah. And, it always starts with the quarterback. And obviously, Julian Sand is a tremendous football player. He's young, but doesn't play like he's young. I mean, he got super quick release, very accurate, and he's mobile. And they've got great weapons on the outside. Jeremiah Smith is probably the most dominant player in college football, if not Caleb Downs or the other receiver, 17, Carnell Tate. And so they've got weapons in the air to make explosive plays, but they're committed to the run as well. And the offensive line does a great job, as well as the tight ends. And, Bo Jackson and the other running backs have been running really well. So they're fully dimensional. They can beat you a number of different ways. And, sometimes when you watch Ohio State, the game is in hand. And I know Ryan is banking on playing a really long season, and they huddle, and they're not interested in running a lot of plays on offense. And sometimes when you watch them, it's almost like they're holding back a little bit. But they're super explosive, capable of scoring from any point on the field at any time.
Our next question goes to Doug Lesmerisis.
Curt, as we mentioned, both these teams are going to be in the playoff. Both of them likely are going to get a first-round bye, win or lose. How do you balance making sure your team is ready and prepared for the playoff versus trying to play your best game and win on Saturday night?
Well, I don't think there's much balance there. We're treating this like a one-game season. It's the next opponent. If we get done what we want to get done, we won't play again for 30 days. And there'll be plenty of time to recover from our bumps and bruises, et cetera. Either way, coming out of this game, there will be a response to how you played and the result in preparation for the next opponent. But this game means an awful lot. It's a Big Ten championship. It's a great conference. We've never had the opportunity to play in this game, let alone be the Big Ten champ. And we're playing a great opponent. So all eyes and focus are in preparation toward this game.
Up next is Stephen Means. Stephen, go ahead.
Hey, Curt, just a little more on last year's Ohio State game, but then also you took over a program that obviously didn't have a history necessarily winning. And so there were maybe some things you did last year, some ways you approached things that were necessary to kind of shift the attention of the team. For starters, do you feel like your program in year 2 is starting to get a level of respect across the country? But then also that loss to Ohio State, just seeing what it looked like up close and personal, and what was your first ranked game at this level as a head coach. You talked about earlier the necessary of that, but what did you take from that and just seeing it up close and what necessarily it takes to compete at this level, at a high level?
Yeah. I suspect we're getting more respect nationally. The Illinois game, they were 9 in the country when we played. We beat them 63-10 at home. Go to Iowa. That one may not have been on a lot of people's radar, but that was a great win. Obviously, the Oregon game, I think, gave us a lot of credibility. That was a step we had to take as a program, go on the road, play a top 5 team in the country, and come back with a win. And Oregon's a great football team. Dan Lanning's a great football coach. And so I think from that point on, yeah, there has been a little bit more acceptance of where we're at as a football program and what we've accomplished. In terms of last year's game, we got off to a decent start. We had a 7-0 lead. Ohio State made some plays, had some penalties, which hurt them early in the game. So we were able to hold that lead till about the middle of the second quarter. But really, from that point on, we got caught in that one end zone that gave up some sacks, couldn't get anything going on offense. They had all the momentum in the world. They pretty much dominated for 2 quarters, that football game. We scored at the end, got it within 2, and then they scored at the very end. But, in my mind, they dominated that football game. And was the moment too big for that football team? I mean, really, objectively, you'd almost have to say it was. We did some uncharacteristic things in pass protection. We did some uncharacteristic things with our punt team, which gave up 14 points. And we didn't respond very well. But I think, and then Notre Dame, I don't think responded very well. And so I think in the off season, those were 2 experiences that our guys had a long time to think about and prepare for in advance for the next one. And I think this team has responded to those type of challenges. And we have met every challenge and overcome this season because of the way we prepare. And with stacked days, meetings, and practices, and put it on the field, play 1 to 150 every game. And that's what it'll take this week.
Got time for a couple more. Our next question comes from Stefan Kryashnik.
Hey, Curt, I wanted to ask you about D'Angelo Pons, obviously, going up against a high school teammate, and Jeremiah Smith got the chance to do it last year. And again, we'll get the chance this weekend. I guess your thoughts on how he handled that last year, and I guess the opportunity he, relishes and takes when he can go against some of these premier receivers in the Big Ten.
Yeah, I thought he held his own last year. Now, I'd have to go back and look at a play-in, play-out cut-up, but, he's a great competitor, loves football. He's a great player. And, if he walked in my office and you were sitting in my office and looked at him, he doesn't look like an All-American. He's not real tall. He's not real big. But that guy goes a million mile an hour every practice, every game. He's a great cover guy. He's got great ball skills, great ball in the air skills. He's a good tackler. And in my opinion, he's a great football player. He is an All-American football player. And I know they were high school teammates. I'm sure he's looking forward to the challenge. And Jeremiah Smith, he's in a league of his own. I mean, I had the opportunity to coach Julio Jones at Alabama. They remind me a lot of each other. And Jeremiah Smith is just a sensational football player.
Our next question comes from Mike Schumann. Mike, go ahead.
Yeah, hey, Coach. I wanted to ask you about Carter Smith, obviously an Ohio kid. PFF says he hasn't allowed a sack all year. I wanted to get your assessment of how he's played this year.
Yeah, playing really well. Like the way he had played the year before I got hired. I thought last year he played well. He had a few blips last year. He has been extremely consistent. This season was player of the game this past week for our Purdue game. And I think he'll play a lot of football one day when his college days are over. He's smart. He's committed. He's dedicated. He's a great teammate. His teammates love him. He's got leadership qualities, comes from a great family, and he's a competitor, and he's a tough guy. He practices hard. He plays hard. He's everything you want in a football player.
All right, we've got 1 minute more. Our last question comes, so I'll try this again. Tim May. Tim, go ahead. Still can't hear you, Tim. I'm sorry. You're unmuted, but I can't hear you. In that case, let's give the last question to last question will go to Nick Hamilton. Nick, go ahead.
Hey, Coach. Throughout the ebbs and flows of the season, how have you seen Fernando Mendoza evolve and elevate to the point where he is right now as the quarterback of your team?
Yeah, when we got him, obviously was highly aware of him. We have his younger brother. And when he came to us, he needed some work in the pocket, footwork, patience, processing. Saw him make a big jump the last week of spring and another big jump the last 2 weeks of fall camp. But I think it was probably after the second or third game of the year where you could really see him start to get comfortable in the pocket, make the plays. And since the Illinois game, he's been outstanding. Now, there's still some times you could make a cut up and say, oh, you got a little too antsy here or there. And I think the cold weather bothered him a little bit against Purdue, to be quite honest with you. He's from Miami. He's never played in that kind of weather before. But he's a great leader. He's a great person, highly intelligent. He wants to be a great player. And Tom Brady is his idol. And I've never seen a guy put the time in and prepare like he does. And he'll be ready to go Saturday. And my big thing is I just want him to focus in on the process so that he can play the best he can Saturday night for the Indiana Hoosiers and nothing else.
Coach Cignetti, thank you very much for joining us today, taking some time for the media. Good luck in your final preparations this week, and we'll see you in Indianapolis.
Thanks, guys.
All right. Okay, thank you everybody for your patience. Our next coach on the teleconference is Ohio State's Ryan Day. Coach Day led the top-ranked Buckeyes to a 12-0 regular season record and a 9-0 record in Big Ten play. Ohio State will be making its 7th appearance this weekend in the Big Ten championship game. Coach, thanks for joining us today. If you could give some quick opening remarks, and then we'll open it up for questions.
Sure, thanks. Yeah, it's just got done with the team meeting with our players, and they're very, very excited to go back to Indianapolis. It's one of the things that's on our list of goals during the season is get to Indianapolis and win the Big Ten championship. So, our guys are excited to do that, and our coaching staff is excited to do that. Certainly have a great opponent in Indiana, and it's always a great atmosphere. Playing at Lucas Oil, and I know it'll be the same way Saturday night.
All right, as a reminder, if you would like to ask a question, please raise your hand in the Zoom chat. Our first question will go to Joey Kaufman. Joey, go ahead.
Ryan, just to look back on the last week, the way you structured everything with the routine and players, from not having the band to the Sunday, but earlier in the year, then some of the availabilities, and then flying up and kind of keeping the week structured. Do you feel like that helped in the game Saturday, looking back on just some of the things you did there?
Well, I think every year is different. Every team is different. There are things that you want to keep consistent year in and year out, but there's also things that I think you need to tweak, and sort of based on the team that you have. And so we always take that into consideration. But also just when you look at the end of the year and assess the things that you've done well and the things that you need to improve on, you have to figure out what's best for your team. And I felt like coming off of last year, what was it in our preparation that needed to get it fixed for the last game of the regular season? And so it wasn't just one thing. There were several things that we looked to on the field, off the field, all of the above. And one thing for sure is that you want to make sure you're doing everything you can to keep the routine the routine. There's enough that goes into that game. There's enough emotion that goes into that game. And I felt like that was important for our team. And from when there was senior tackle to the band coming on Sunday night, to Thanksgiving, to taking the bus up there, I just felt like there was just a lot of things that were different, and may have thrown us off on our routine. And I felt like we're a routine oriented culture here, and I felt like it was the best thing to do. Was that the difference in the end? Who knows? But everything matters.
Our next question will come from Stephen Means. Stephen?
Well, I know there's obviously a lot of emotion that goes into what happened yesterday, but there's also obviously a lot of football left to be played. And that was kind of the deal when you guys got into the college football playoff. You talked about things you learned from that. What did you learn from going through that and having to go through 4 games like that? And you might be in a similar situation this year where you can come down from those emotions very quickly and kind of turn the page here the way you have to get into this Indiana game and really for the rest of the season.
Well, I think it starts with a mindset going into the season on what your goals are. Our goals, for this year was, win the first one, win the rivalry game, win the Big Ten championship, win the national championship. And I think when you look at it from that lens, you realize that, it's a long road, and that you have to really focus on your routine. You have to, come up for air on Sundays and figure out, what needs to get changed, and, sort of recalibrate, and then, go about your routine of reloading for that week. And so that's, sort of going to be the same way here. We have an expectation that we want to reach our goals. And so when you have that approach, I think it's important where, I've been on teams before where, when you're, looking to make it to the playoffs, or you're happy to make a bowl game, then maybe, you take your foot off the accelerator because you don't look at it from that lens. We do. And so I think that matters. Again, I think everything matters, but I think our guys have that approach and going through it last year and understanding that this thing's going all the way to the middle end of January is the way you have to look at it. But knowing that, you lose one game, your season's over. So I think just that mindset is important.
Our next question is from Jeff Rabjohns. Jeff, your mic is open.
Yeah, Coach, thanks for your time. This conference, college football history. When you see somebody like Curt Cignetti do what he's done at a place that obviously has Indiana's history, your thoughts as a coach about the job he's done are what?
I think the first thing is he's adapted to, modern times. He certainly has taken a roster and turned it over quickly and brought in some really talented players. So I think that's the first thing. I mean, it's about talent acquisition, and the way that we used to do that was just recruit and develop, and that takes time. He's been aggressive, and he's been able to turn over his roster and bring in a lot of talent in a short period of time, which is really well done. And you can tell they're good evaluators of talent. And then when you watch them play, they're well coached. They have a plan on how they want to attack you in all three phases, and they're not going to beat themselves. So you combine all those things together, and you're looking at a program that has really made a lot of noise here in the last couple of years, and certainly have a lot of respect for what Coach Cignetti's done.
Our next question is from Brendan Gullick. Brendan, go ahead.
Hi, Ryan. Thanks for doing this. Two quick ones. One, how did Jeremiah and Carnell recover from yesterday's game? And as it relates to Fernando Mendoza, when you've watched him on tape, when he's at his best, what does it look like in your eyes?
Yeah, both of those guys, came out, as good as could be expected. So that was great. And two gritty performances and gutsy performances. And, they'll be excited to play in this one for sure. I've watched Mendoza play in a lot of the crossover games. I've seen a little bit on just TV when maybe it's a Saturday game where we're playing a night game, they're playing a noon game, watching a little bit on the TV copies, but mostly in crossover games. One, he looks very intelligent in terms of his ability to identify, pre and post snap, scheme, makes those decisions as well. He's accurate, probably, I call it sneaky athletic, where, maybe you don't look at him as a dual threat, but he makes a lot of plays with his feet, can extend. And he looks like a great leader to me when I've listened to him speak. So, it'll be a really good challenge for our defense, for our team.
Our next question is from Dan Hope. Dan, go ahead. Dan? Dan, I apologize.
Sorry, I don't think if you, by the way, I just wanted to ask about. Oh.
Yeah.
Dan.
Yeah, the O-line you're asking about. And you watch our film, the O-line in this past game was as good as I've seen. The physicality, the way that they played, it was pretty amazing. I think there was 43 knockdowns between all five of them, which I've never heard of before. They just played their tail off. And so I'm just proud of the physicality, the mindset, and the confidence they played with in this past game. And they also did a great job of protection. No sacks. So they got to reload the clip, man. We got another big one this week.
Our next question is from Bill Rabinowitz. Bill, go ahead.
All right, I understand that you guys had a long delay yesterday after the game. What was it? Were you on the tarmac? What was going on? How'd you spend however many hours it was? And did that affect anything in terms of getting today off to the start that you wanted to?
Yeah, no. We did get back later than we wanted to, but the plane had a delay getting into Ann Arbor. And then once we got there, we just had a little bit of an issue with the de-icing and then clearing the runway to take off. So yeah, we were delayed and got in, I think, closer to 11 or so. But I mean, it wasn't anything like 3 a.m, but so similar to maybe playing a night game. But the flip side of it was, everybody was on that plane, and the team was just, enjoying each other's company and laughing, and so maybe they got to bed a little bit earlier. So that was good, I guess. In preparation, they came in today with a bunch of energy, so that was good. Our guys are pretty good. They don't just go run on the streets, but after last night's game, who knows what could have happened. So I guess it was a blessing in disguise.
Next question from Zach Osterman.
Ryan, I think you talked about this a little bit earlier, but we've asked Curt Cignetti about this on the IU side a little bit too. Just given how much the postseason has expanded between championship games and then obviously the playoff, when you've had the opportunity to sort of take snaps out of guys' legs in the regular season, like what has been the kind of the philosophy, the balance in terms of not wanting guys maybe to play too little, but being able to rest guys, winning where you can, knowing that the season is just a lot more involved post December 1 now?
Yeah. For us, it was sort of in our style of play, just the number of snaps. I think our defense played 44 snaps again this week. So that was great. And I think, they've been fresh all season. We try to roll guys the best we can. I think that's important. And like you said, though, I mean, the games are increasing and the roster size is getting smaller. So that's not any good. So we have to figure out, how to do that and how to manage the workload the best we can. And there's a couple different ways to do that. I think it's important. Everybody has their own style, but we've sort of done that with our pace of play. And we try to control the game on offense.
Next question is from Adam King.
Ryan, you were here during the 4 straight Big Ten championship run where it felt like almost a given that you would raise that trophy in Indy. Now that you haven't been there in a few years, does it make this so much sweeter for you guys? I know it's a goal every year, but forgetting about the playoff, forgetting about the bye, just the idea of raising that trophy in Indy has been a goal for you guys for so long. Does it make it a little more special?
Well, it might have felt like a given to you, but it never felt like a given to me. I can tell you that. This conference is a good conference, and every year it gets better and better. And now the fact that there's 18 teams in it from coast to coast, it's harder and harder to win the conference. And so, yeah, I mean, we wanted to get to Indy. It's been too long, and yeah, it'll be important. I mean, it's an electric atmosphere. It's a great venue for it. We always get a great crowd who travels over. So, yeah, it'll be important. There's no question. It's been too long since we've been to Indy, and we want to win this thing.
Our next question is from Cameron T. Robinson. Cameron, go ahead. All right, Cameron, we'll try to come back to you. Our next question in that case will come from Doug Lesmerisis.
Hey, Ryan, you've stated a couple times this Big Ten championship is a goal for you guys, but it is between your rivalry game and the college football playoff. I think some people have questioned what is the value of conference championship games in this day and age. As it relates to health of players or anything else, is there anything that you would think about the balance of making sure you're healthy and rested and ready for the playoff versus going all out to win this thing no matter what?
I've said before that I think it's something that we need to consider just how it plays into the playoffs and what it means. I do think I think so. But I think important for us right now is like we want to be the 1 seed going in to the playoffs, and that's what we're fighting for. So I do hear what you're saying, but I think it's also important to be the 1 seed. And so here we are, and that's what we're going to be playing for here, and that's the focus. But I do think it's important for us to be thinking about how this game does affect the playoffs and making sure that it's in alignment and it makes sense. Because I think it's a big deal, and I think winning your conference is a big deal. You think about um, in other, like, in the basketball tournament, it's an automatic qualifier, which is great, but it should mean something, and I think it does. So, but I do think, if it's going to stay the way it is at 12, or if it's going to expand, we just need to make sure that it's all in alignment. And then, is there a situation where 3, 4, 5, and 6 in the conference also play during this weekend? I know that's something that has been thrown out before that I think makes sense. It's one more game for us to play. When you think about last year, we didn't play in this game, and then went on to win the national championship. So, but then, if you win it, you get a bye. So there's a lot to consider, but not really focused on that right now. More focused on winning the game and being the 1 seed.
Our next question is from Steve Hellwagon. Steve?
Yeah, Coach, if you can hear me, Indiana last year, somewhat of a novelty, and maybe the moment was too big for them when they played you guys at Ohio Stadium and you beat them by 3 touchdowns. This year, as your mentor, Urban would say, they have a belief or a testimony. They went to Oregon and beat, one of the top 3 or 4 teams in the country on their field. So they're no longer, they have that belief. Just what's your feeling about what they're going to bring to the table in that regard? And also, this was asked of Coach Cignetti. I'll ask you as well. Win or lose, do both of these teams playing Saturday deserve a first-round bye for the playoff?
Yeah, I really haven't even been following that, but I did talk about it a little bit yesterday with Ross, just trying to get an idea. Like, I don't even know who 3 was or 4 was, quite honestly, because it doesn't really matter to us. I was just so focused on winning that game last week. But when you look at it, yeah, I mean, they say that you're not supposed to be penalized for losing in the conference championship game. So you have the 1, 2 seed, and so I think, yeah, both would deserve to get a first round bye. But I also think it matters when you're the 1 or the 3 or 4, because of who you play. So I think it's important to win this game and be the 1 seed. It's just going to help your chances. Everything matters, and so we want to make sure we win that. And then, yeah, going back to what you said about Indiana, yeah, I mean, this is a team now that has been winning at a high level for 2 years. So there'll be no moment too big for them. They'll be ready to go.
Coach, our next question comes from Stefan Kreisnik.
Hey, Ryan, right before you got on here, we were speaking with Coach Cignetti, and he said that you're going to be remembered one day as one of the legends of college football. What's your reaction to hearing that from him, and what do you feel like he's added to the Big Ten since joining the conference?
Well, that's quite a compliment, but and I appreciate him saying that. I'm not too sure what to think of that. I don't got a lot of football to coach before any of those type of conversations. But I think the one thing about Coach Cignetti, one, he grew up in a football family, and I sort of have like a respect for the way he grew up when I watch my son RJ, and he's the son of a coach and everything that comes with that, and he just has a feel for the game. When you grow up around this profession, you understand what it's supposed to look like. You understand people, you understand situations, and that's the way he is, and that's the way he coaches. And you can see that based on how quickly, he's turned things around in Indiana, but also, he's won wherever he's been. I know people, laugh about, some of the comments he makes about Google him and all that, but it's true. And he's been around football his whole life, and it just makes sense to him. He's been around it, been around winning football, and you certainly, you see the guys on his staff, they stay with him for a long time, and that says a lot about your culture when your coaches want to be with you and stick with you. So, I got a lot of respect for him as well. And certainly, now it's been great to, see him as a competitor in the conference in such a short period of time.
Our next question is from Kyle Babcock. Kyle?
Hey, Coach. This year's team is ranked #1, last year national champion. How similar, how different are these teams from last year to this year, but with the expectations being high?
It's a different team. I have some coaches and friends and folks who stop by preseason camp, and after the practice is over, I just get over and say, man, what do you think about this group? What do you see? They spend a day with me and then just give me some feedback on what they see. And it was interesting. Like several of them said, this team's going to be good. This team's going to be really good, but they're different. They're different than the team you had last year. And I listened to the first one and the second one, but by the time like a third person said that observation to me, I really gave it some thought. And I think it's a different group of guys, very businesslike. They're focused, they're mature. That was one of the things going into the season that I wasn't sure about this team, how mature they were. And man, they grew up fast, or maybe they were more mature than I thought they were when we came in. They're talented, they're tough, they're smart, and they care about each other. So it's a great group to be around. I'm grateful to be around these guys every day. I think we have a great coaching staff. They work well together. There's good chemistry there. But we talked about in our team meeting today, like, all right, regular season's over. Now it's time to go. And, I said last week we're playing for hardware, so we got our gold pants last week, and now we're looking to get the Big Ten, championship and then go on from there. So I think these guys understand that. And that's the other part about this team that I think is good because, they saw what happened last year. They saw the run that we went on. They saw what it takes. Some of those guys were a part of it. And now they want to be the first team to, win back-to-back national championships in Ohio State history. But the focus right now is putting ourselves in a situation to be the 1 seed by winning the Big Ten championship.
Got time for a couple more. Our next question is from Tony Gerdeman.
Ryan, with the scouting of Indiana, how far back have your QC guys started on Indiana? And I guess when did what time did your Sunday begin to start catching up on the Hoosiers?
Well, we had a little too much time on the plane last night, so we were able to get a little bit of a head start, more than I expected. We were able to kind of put the film to bed of yesterday before we took off, and then started on these guys today. But we also were meeting with our players and going to keep the same routine. So this is going to be just like an away trip for us. And, we need to get on the issue. The issues are still there, getting on the film. A lot of guys graded out a champion. A lot of guys did their job at a high level, but the issues are still there. And as we continue to go down the road and the competition continues to increase and we find ourselves in these matchup games, the issues are going to come to the forefront if we don't get them fixed. So we're going to make sure that we do this the right way, continue to stay with the same format we've been on. But certainly our focus now is on Indiana.
Our next question is from Nick Hamilton. Nick, go ahead.
Hey, Coach. Wanted to ask you just about Matt Patricia and how much you've seen him just really transform this defense to a top-notch defense, and be able to bring that ferociousness that you guys have had throughout the course of the season.
Yeah, I mean, I think it's pretty clear to anyone close to the program that he's done a great job early on of building relationship with the players. And as the season's gone on, it's only fortified itself more. He's a very likable guy who just has a great personality, cares about his players. He's very intelligent, meshes well with the staff. And that's one thing that was important to me because when Jim decided to go to Penn State, we had a defensive staff already intact. And these guys just came off of a national championship. And I felt like they were the best defensive coaching staff in the country. But we needed to bring in someone to work with them and work with our players. And Matt has turned out to be a great fit. And he's a pleasure to work with every day.
Next question is from Jeff Gilbert. Jeff?
Yeah, Coach. Coach Cignetti, when he talks about process, you talk about process a lot. Seems like he says a lot of I don't know exactly the same things, but the same ideas. What do you hear from him that you think is making him be able to revamp this beyond just getting players?
Well, I don't want to speak, on somebody else's program, but when I have listened to Coach Cignetti speak, you can tell that he has a system in place. And in that system, he knows what it's supposed to look like. And I think there's a belief within the program and a credibility of his competence as a coach that if you follow the plan, it's going to work. And his confidence really exudes from the system. That's what it looks like to me. Now, I don't know that, but it looks to me like, the preparation that they put in, they seem prepared. And when you're prepared, you have confidence. And then his players play like that. So again, that's just an observation. I'm not in there every day, but from afar, it's certainly easy to see that they do a great job of playing fast and with confidence. And I think that has a lot to do with how he coaches and how his staff coaches and the systems that they have in place.
All right, Coach, our last question today will come from Bill Landis. Bill, go ahead.
Hey, Ryan. When it comes to Matt Patricia, and the defense having to make some adjustments, just what is he like on the sideline, and what is your assessment of his communication with players and staff as they're trying to get things figured out on the fly during a game?
Elite. Elite. He loves having that iPad. They don't have that in the NFL. He's like, this is unbelievable. I get to watch the plays after each drive. So he's a happy dude. I think the thing is when things are going well, okay, we talk about that. But when things don't go well, or something hits, or there's a breakdown, an explosive play, whatever it might be, he has the answers why. And I think that is really important because when you don't have that, then there becomes a panic. And now guys start to not only are they confused, but they don't know what went wrong. And then they start to do something more like make a play and they jump out of a gap and then things can spiral. So I think his communication and ability to identify what the issue is and then get it addressed. Now, maybe that's a schematic issue or maybe it's a technique issue, but when everybody together understands why something happened, they can move on and go play the next snap, not letting the last one affect the next.
Coach, thank you very much for taking so much time today. Good luck in practice this week, and we'll see you in Indianapolis.
All right, guys, thanks.
All right, that is going to
Thanks for watching. For more NBC4, download the NBC4 streaming app. You'll get free 24/7 local programming streamed straight to your living room. Just search NBC4 Columbus on your Apple TV, Amazon Fire, Roku, or Samsung device.